You're listening to Signal Lost, original alien fiction. New story every week. I'm glad you found the frequency.
There is a word people in my line of work use about themselves when they want to feel respectable. And the word is archivist. We say it because it sounds neutral. An archivist does not participate. An archivist collects, verifies, orders, and preserves, and stands, crucially, outside the material. The story happened to someone else. You are simply the person holding the file afterward, keeping it safe, making sure it is not lost. I built 4 years and a career on that word. I told myself I was not a ghoul profiting from other people's worst days. I was an archivist. There was a shelf, and there was me, and I was on the outside of it. I would like to tell you when exactly I stopped being outside it. I cannot, because that is the whole point of what happened to me. There was no moment. There was only a slow discovery that the shelf had never had an outside at all. That everyone who has ever handled a file has been in it. And that the difference between the archivist and the subject is nothing but the order in which your name comes up. My name is Nadia Okonkwo. I am 36 years old. I made a podcast about unexplained disappearances. A small one at first, then not small. By the 4th year, it had somewhere around 200,000 regular listeners, which is not enormous by the standards of that world, but is a great many more human beings than I had ever been responsible for before. I am telling you this because in March, a hard drive arrived at my P.O. box, and I did with it exactly what I had trained myself for 4 years to do, and 200,000 people listened. I have spent every day since trying to work out whether that makes me a witness or an instrument. I think you will have an opinion by the end of this. I think you should hold on to it, because it is going to apply to you too. The P.O. box existed because listeners send things. Mostly they send theories and photographs of nothing, and long letters about their own experiences. I read all of it. Perhaps 1 in 300 items is worth a phone call. The package was a padded envelope containing a plain external hard drive and a single printed sheet of paper. No cover letter, no name. The postmark was smudged into uselessness, which I want to note carefully, because I checked it under a lamp for 20 minutes, and I am still not certain whether it was damaged or whether there was never a postmark at all. On the sheet of paper, in plain printed type, 4 words: "Keep the frequency open." The drive was not encrypted. That surprised me. Anonymous material usually arrives wrapped in the sender's paranoia. This arrived like something being handed over by someone who had stopped worrying about consequences. It contained 2 things. The first was a folder of 6 audio files, 6 recorded accounts, each by a different person, each speaking plainly in the first person about something that had happened to them. A long-haul driver, a marine biologist, a hospital night nurse, a father who had developed his dead son's film, a woman who had watched an empty house, an astronomer. The second was a single 40-minute audio file of what I initially assumed was corrupted data, a dense, structured, deeply strange sound that did not resemble anything I could name. I listened to all 6 accounts in one sitting at my kitchen table, and I did not move once. And when they finished, I understood immediately that I was holding the best material of my career. That is the honest and shameful truth of what I felt first. Not fear, not concern for those 6 people. I felt the specific electric greed of a person who has just been handed something that will be listened to. I want to be very clear about the next 6 weeks because they are the reason I published, and because everything I did was, by the standards of my profession, correct. I verified it. All of it. Obsessively. The trucker was real. I found her employment records with a haulage firm that confirmed she had resigned abruptly after a night run. The stretch of highway she described is real, and there is a documented anomaly in the mile marker sequence that the maintenance authority explains as a clerical error dating back decades. The marine biologist was real. There is a Coast Guard report of a research vessel found drifting without crew. 3 crew members are still listed as missing. Her resignation from the institute is a matter of public record. The hospital was real, and closed now. The nurse was real. There was a cluster of 6 unexpected patient deaths across an 11-week window that a health board review classified as statistically unremarkable, which it was. Barely. The father was real. His son's death is in the coroner's records. So is the fact that the vehicle was retained by the family and never sold. The woman on the quiet street was real, and the house she described was, according to the council, vacant across the entire period she was describing it as occupied. The astronomer was real, and this was the one that stopped me, because when I finally traced her, I found that she had been a respected figure with 30 years of published work, and that she had gone completely silent. No papers, no correspondence, no public appearances. From the same month as her recording. And I found 2 other researchers who confirmed, cautiously and off the record, that a 40-minute recording had circulated privately among a handful of specialists before being quietly withdrawn as an instrumentation artifact. 6 accounts. 6 real people. 6 documented, checkable, boring institutional traces around a hole in the middle where something impossible sits. And one more thing, which I found in the 5th week, and which is the detail that convinced me this was the biggest story I would ever tell. Every single one of them, independently, in 6 separate recordings, said they had been sent the same number. In an envelope. Under the door. No stamp. I sat with that for 2 days. Then I did what an archivist does. I built the episode. I want to defend myself for a moment, and then I want to stop defending myself, because both are part of the truth. The defense. This material was corroborated. 6 independent witnesses, verifiable public records, a documented pattern of suppression. If I had sat on it, I would have been doing exactly what every institution in those 6 stories had done. Filing it under artifact, calling it clerical, letting it disappear. The entire moral logic of my profession says you publish. Sunlight, record, preserve. That is what an archive is for. And I believed, I still half believe, that publishing was protective. That a thing which operates by isolating people, by making each of them believe they were the only one, is weakened when all 6 of them are heard at once in the same hour by 200,000 people. I thought I was breaking the isolation. I thought that was the one useful thing I could do with a career spent on other people's tragedies. Now the part I do not get to defend. I published the signal. Not just the accounts. I included, in the episode, a segment of the 40-minute file. About 90 seconds of it. I did it because it was extraordinary audio. Because it made the episode feel real in a way that description never does. And because I have made myself write this down, I knew it would be the part people talked about. I had one moment of hesitation. I want it on the record because it is the only thing that lets me sleep at all. My editor asked me whether we should include the audio, and I thought about it for perhaps 4 seconds. And I said, "It's just sound. It's just sound." That is what I said. 4 seconds of consideration, and a sentence I will be turning over for the rest of whatever I have left. The episode went out on the 14th. It was the biggest thing I had ever made. 200,000 in the first week, 400,000 by the end of the month. And then, the kind of spread you do not control. Clips, reaction videos, people playing the 90 seconds of signal on their own channels, laid over their own footage, remixed, slowed down, analyzed by strangers with spectrogram software. I want you to hold that image, because it is the image I cannot stop holding. Something that had spent years reaching 6 people, one at a time, patiently, over years. And I put it into 400,000 pairs of headphones in a fortnight. And then those people put it into more. The messages started in the 3rd week. They were not threatening. That is the thing that took me longest to understand. They were, at first, entirely ordinary, the kind of listener mail I had received for 4 years. Except for the specific thing they had in common. Loved the episode. Weird question. Do you know why I'd have started waking up at 3:17? Every night since. My partner says I sat up in bed and turned the lamp on and then lay back down. I have no memory of it. Is this a bit? Did you send me something? There was a piece of paper under my door with a number on it. By the 6th week, I had 411 of them. I know the number exactly because I built a spreadsheet. Because I am an archivist. Because when I am frightened, I collect and order and preserve. 411 listeners describing in their own words, with no contact between them, the same 3 things. The waking at 3:17, the number under the door, and in 91 of them, a small mark they could not account for. 3 lines, converging to a point. I stopped reading the mail. I took the episode down. Taking it down did nothing, of course. It had been mirrored, clipped, re-uploaded, archived by other people, because that is what happens to anything that spreads. And because, and I understand the joke of this, the internet is full of archivists. You cannot unpublish a thing. You can only stop being the one holding it. I have my own 3 now. I wake at 17 minutes past 3. Not every night. Enough. The letter came in April. No stamp, no postmark. Under the door of the studio rather than my home. Which I have thought about a great deal. It came to where I work, not where I sleep. 1 sheet, 1033.7. And the mark is on the pad of my right index finger. The finger I click with. The finger I have used 10,000 times to press publish. I do not think that placement is accidental. Nothing about any of this has been accidental. It marked the trucker's hand on the road, the diver's collarbone in the water, the nurse's neck at his station, the father's car, the watcher's window, the astronomer's telescope. Each of them on the instrument of their participation. It marked the thing you did it with. I did it with a finger on a button. Which brings me to the note. Keep the frequency open. I spent months reading that as an instruction from a fellow victim. A warning. Solidarity. Somebody passing me the file the way the linguist described being passed hers. The way you pass a torch. I do not read it that way anymore. I think it was a job description. I think whatever this is does not spread by taking people. It spreads by being carried. By finding, in every generation of every medium, a person whose entire professional identity is built around collecting a story and making sure it reaches as many people as possible. A scribe, a newspaperman, a broadcaster, a podcaster, an archivist. It did not need to abduct me. It needed to hire me. And it did not have to trick me into it, which is the part I cannot forgive. Because it simply gave me exactly what I already wanted, the best material of my career, and let my own profession do the rest. 400,000 people in a fortnight. Because I said, it's just sound. My name is Nadia Okonkwo. I called myself an archivist because it let me believe there was an outside, that the file could be handled without being entered, that collecting a thing is not the same as carrying it. There is no outside. There is only the order in which the names come up. I have thought a great deal about what I owe the 411 people who wrote to me, and the however many thousand who did not, and about whether there is any version of this in which I am not the mechanism. I have not found one. The only honest thing I can do now is the thing I am doing. Tell you plainly what I did, and how ordinary it felt while I was doing it, and how completely reasonable every single step was. Because that is the shape of it. Every step is reasonable. It never once asks you to do anything strange. It asks a linguist to translate. It asks a driver to take the easier road. It asks a broadcaster to broadcast. It asks a listener to listen. You are listening to this. Somebody sent it to you, or an algorithm did, or you found it yourself on a night you could not sleep. And it does not matter which, because the mechanism does not care how the file reaches you, only that it does. I am not going to tell you to stop. I have not earned the right to tell anyone anything. And besides, you already have it. It is already in you. It went in the moment you understood what I was telling you. The way it went into the linguist the moment she read it. The way it went into me the moment I said, it's just sound. So I will tell you the only true thing I have left. Somewhere, there is a list. It is very long, and it is ordered, and every name on it has a date. I do not know where you are on it. I do not know where I am, though I think, given what I have done, that I have moved. But I know how the list gets longer. It gets longer because people like me are very good at our jobs. My name is Nadia Okonkwo, and this was my signal.
Signal lost. New story every week. Have you heard the frequency?